I'm Senior Meteorologist Jason Hansford with the National Weather Service office in Shreveport, and this is the 2016 Fall and Winter Temperature and Precipitation Outlook for the Ark-La-Tex region. This graphic here just depicts surface and operator rainfall estimates during the month of August across the area. On the left here you can see the warmer colors, the red and the purples, indicate widespread 5 to 10 inches of rain falling across much of the area during the month of August. When compared that to normal, on the graphic on the right, we're looking at widespread monthly totals of 150 to in excess of 300% above normal area wide. Now keep in mind that August is typically the hottest and driest month of the year, so seeing these types of rainfall totals during that month was certainly a very rare occurrence indeed. Now pick out a city near you and we'll give you the approximate rainfall totals during the month of August here. And as you can see here, most locations received generally between 5 and 8 inches of rain there, with the exception of El Dorado, which totaled nearly 13 inches of rain. Now most of these locations fell within the top 10 wettest August on record. However, as we moved out of August and into September and October, the rain machine has effectively shut off across the four-state area. In fact, very little rainfall has fallen during the months of September and October, with rainfall totals on average about 1 to 2 inches, with isolated higher totals recorded. During this 2-month time period here, most locations ranked within the top 5 driest September-Octobers on record. Now couple that with the above normal temperatures here, you see most locations recorded September-October average temperatures of some 3.5 to nearly 5 degrees above normal, and this ranks within the top 10 warmest September-October temperature averages there on record. Now looking at this graphically here, this is just the 60-day percent of normal rainfall graphic running from the very latter part of August through the end of October here. And as you can see here, much of the four-state area is showing percent of normal rainfall, or generally are at or below 25%. So some of the worst occurrences of below normal precipitation, as you can see here, are noted across much of extreme eastern Texas, west central Louisiana, including the lower Toledo Bend country, as well as much of northeast Louisiana, whereas some locations here have received about 5% of normal rainfall during that 2-month time period during the months of September and October. To add insult to injury, much above normal temperatures have been recorded during this 2-month time period as well. In fact, as you can see here in this graphic, average temperature departures have run some 3 to in excess of 5 degrees above normal area wide since late August. And so these abnormally hot and very dry conditions have resulted in areas of flash drought development across all of the Ark-La-Tex region. This is the latest U.S. Drought Monitor map across the southern tier of the United States here. This was released here back on Thursday, November the 3rd, with the end of the data period ending back on Tuesday, November 1st. And as you can see here, much of the orange shaded areas across eastern Texas and far western Louisiana, as well as portions of northeast Louisiana, are currently in severe drought conditions at this time. The beige areas exist across the remainder of East Texas, southeast Oklahoma, much of central and southern Arkansas, as well as northern Louisiana. Those areas are classified in D1 moderate drought conditions, whereas the yellow shaded areas here across portions of far northwest Louisiana, southern Arkansas, as well as parts of deep East Texas, are classified as D0 and abnormally dry conditions, whereas drought conditions have not developed over those areas just yet, but they are trending that way at this time. And expect additional deterioration over the course in the near future over much of the region. Now this slide here is a recap of the definitions of El Niño and La Niña across the area. And I bring this up to the fact that we just exited an El Niño event here just this past winter and spring. And so we've kind of transitioned more into more neutral conditions here, but kind of recapping the definitions because this will come into play later on in this presentation. The El Niño is defined as a warming of sea surface temperatures along the equatorial Pacific, roughly between 170 and 120 degrees west and 5 degrees north and south of the equator. And in order for this occurrence to be classified as such, we need 3-month running mean sea surface temperature departures greater than or equal to 0.5 degrees Celsius above normal. Whereas La Niña is the exact opposite of El Niño. It is a cooling of sea surface temperatures in the same region as El Niño in the equatorial Pacific, whereas the 3-month running mean sea surface temperature departures must be minus 0.5 degrees or cooler than normal. And by 3-month running mean sea surface temperatures, we're looking at the cumulative sea surface temperature anomalies over the 3-month time period, meaning January, February, March, April, May, and so forth. And in order for distinct El Niño or La Niña episodes to be classified as such, we need these 3 sea surface temperature conditions to be met for a period of at least 5 consecutive months. Now this graphic here brings up those sea surface temperature anomalies in that region of the equatorial Pacific since 1997. And areas that you see here in red were actually classified as an El Niño event. So really from the fall of 2014 all the way up through about May of this year, we saw actually a fairly strong El Niño event occur during that time period. Again, you compare that to our last strong El Niño event, which was back in spring of 1997 through roughly about spring of 1998. As you can see here, the sea surface temperature anomalies were very, very similar, and there's another way in which these El Niños and La Niñas are classified as such, though. But going down in history, this recent El Niño event is actually just slightly weaker than the 97-98 event. But following this, the ending of this most recent El Niño event, you can see sea surface temperature anomalies have actually begun to cool over the last several months. And in fact, we're actually beginning to trend towards La Niña conditions at this time. This map here represents the sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific, and specifically we're measuring those sea surface temperature anomalies within the purple brackets as you see here on your screen. And you can see here some of the lighter and darker blues are indicating below normal sea surface temperature anomalies that are occurring within that particular region of the equatorial Pacific that we denote as the Niño 3.4 region. Again, this region is what we're going to be concentrating on for the development of La Niña or even El Niño conditions. But you can see here that we do have some La Niña conditions already developing at this time as of late October here in the equatorial Pacific. Now this slide is just a recap of jet stream patterns with El Niño and La Niña events, and specifically we'll focus on this right hand side here, which denotes generally an area of high pressure over the eastern Pacific Ocean during La Niña type events. And so that with the ridging from much of Alaska down across the eastern Pacific, generally any kind of troughing would be concentrated further east or across the northern plains in the Great Lakes region, which leaves the southern tier of the United States warm and dry. The clockwise rotation around this ridge of high pressure will result in easterly winds, stronger trade winds there along the equatorial Pacific there, which allows the warmer temperatures closer to to South America to spread further west along the equator. Now what I've done here is I've looked back in recorded history and taken 6 previous weak La Niña events back in recorded history. I've looked at temperatures and also precipitation anomalies here, and taking an average of those 6 weak La Niña events, and we're looking mainly again during the December through February, the wintertime time period here. From those 6 events, we can see here typically during previous La Niña events, we're seeing temperatures averaging really near normal across much of the region here. But you can see here in the warmer colors here, on the right, the precipitation is tend to average a bit below normal, especially across much of Arkansas and northern Louisiana. So again, near normal temperatures and below normal precipitation for the most part, based on these 6 previous weak La Niña events here, running again from the mid-1950s to most recently 2011 and 2012. Now, no 2 weak La Niñas are quite the same, as we can see here. Now, we're looking at just the average temperatures during the December to February time frame during each of these weak La Niña events here. We start off here in 1954 and 55. We move ahead to 64 and 65, 67, 68, 1984 and 85, 95 and 96, and most recently 2011 and 2012. And as you can see here, for these 6 events, temperatures generally trended near normal across much of the region. Now, there was a couple of anomalies here in 1967 and 68 where we were actually a bit below normal on temperatures, and again in 2011 and 2012 where really much of the eastern half of the country trended much above normal with temperatures. The only difference here with 2011 and 2012 is the fact that we just exited a strong La Niña from 2011 to the spring of 2000, or much of 2010 through the spring of 2011. We moderated out, and then weak La Niña conditions again resumed during the winter time of that year. So it's possible that La Niña event that had ended could have influenced temperatures during that time period. Again, looking at each event here of the past weak La Niñas here with regards to precipitation, and as you can see here, much of the region recorded below normal precipitation and 4 of these 6 weak La Niña events here in the past. Now, I know everyone's going to ask us, we're moving into a weak La Niña at this time. What can we expect here with the potential for seeing any kind of snow or ice during this upcoming winter? Well, what I've done here is taken each of those past 6 weak La Niña events, okay, and I've listed them out here. Those listed here with the years in white indicate the wintertime temperatures averaged about near normal. Now, the one event here, 1967-68, you see here in blue, trended below normals on temperatures that year, and 2011-2012 trended above normal temperatures during that year. And as you can see here, I just picked out some of the larger cities across the region, and everything highlighted in blue here, those locations recorded generally 2 inches or greater of snow or ice during that particular winter, which is usually enough to cause significant impacts across our region. And as you can see here, during most of the weak La Niña events here in our past, about 3 or 4 of the 6 events here, we did see significant amounts of snow and or ice across the region. So could that, those probabilities may translate here into our upcoming winters. So, based on past events of weak La Niñas, we could see, at least over some portions of the area, greater probabilities for seeing significant impacts to snow and or ice. Now, in terms of any kind of accumulations, I'm not even going to venture there at this time.